We are at the Catholic Services of Macomb County, and we're about to interview our veteran from World War II. The videographer will be Marilyn Radicki, and Bartlett will be the transcriber, and Pat Perinsky will be the interviewer. Thank you for your service, and we'd like to go right from the beginning. Were you a draftee, or did you enlist?
You want to hear about the combat or the...
No, Dad.
We'll get the whole works. Did you enlist?
No, I was drafted.
You were drafted. Where'd you take your basic training?
At Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Okay.
In a tank corps.
And after that, did you have any specialized training?
Well, I was a tank driver, and I've done all the, necessary training that was required, and shortly after I completed that, I was sent overseas.
Did you have a 10-day leave before you went overseas? Did you get a chance to come home after
Yes,
basic training?
A couple of weeks.
Yeah. And then where did you ship out from?
Fort Meade, Maryland.
Okay. And you arrived in what, in France?
We arrived over in Southampton, Scotland.
Okay.
And then from there we boarded, we got off the ship and boarded the train, and they took us over to, it was in Liverpool, Scotland.
Right.
Then we got on the train, and overnight we come to Southampton, England, and we boarded the ship to take us over to, what was it, what's that?
Fontainebleau?
Pardon me?
Fontainebleau?
Not Fontainebleau, no, it was, I'm talking about the area that they had the invasion.
The D-Day landing.
Normandy?
Normandy, yeah. And so from there, we boarded trucks and they took us over to Paris, France. And that was about December 10th of 44. And then from there, they had, the second day we had a huge meeting of all the soldiers that arrived by ship. They had two generals. The first General Hodges from the 1st Army, and also from the 4th Army. And the two generals got up there and they wanted 6 volunteers for hazardous, some terrible combat duty. And they even mentioned suicidal, that it would be pretty rough. And I was the 2nd volunteer for the 6th that they wanted. And no sooner I volunteered, I grabbed by 2 soldiers, put me in a Jeep, and drove me over to the Hurtgen Forest in Belgium and Germany.
Right.
And so when we got over to the, just a matter of hours, and I met the captain that was in charge. He had a little shack over there, and he says he wanted us to go out deeper in the forest and see what we see and come back. So he offered me a commission, which I turned down. I turned it down because I didn't want to send anybody to be killed. And that was my first thought that come to my mind. So I thought, I wouldn't want to send anybody to be killed. So the other fellow is from Boston, and he's 19 years old. I was 21. And he took the commission, and he told the captain, says, you're a lieutenant. I remained a private. And so just a matter of 10 minutes or so, we're on our way. I started to go deeper into the woods, And the young fellow says, where are we going? I said, we're going to the woods. Yeah, we're in the woods now, but deeper into the woods. And the Hurtgen Forest is a pretty rough area. And so as we started to go, it was just a matter of 10 minutes or so. And he says, where are we going? I said, just follow me. And he said, well, I'm going to pull rank. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, I'm the lieutenant. I said, okay, you're in charge. You're the boss. Where do we go? It's up the cliff. There's a huge cliff next to us. It's about 100 feet. As we were going up, we were almost to the top when I stepped on a mine. And we were both thrown back. There was a steep, it was like this area. So when we stepped on the mine just before the level, we got thrown back, and then we were about 20 feet, 30 feet down. After, so I flew further than him because I was 5'9", he was 6'1". And as we flew back, we hit the ground. I start rolling, we were going very fast because it was a steep hill. And he rolled over me, and eventually I rolled over him when he was stopping down at the lower level. And then we hit the ground, level ground. And I looked at him, and terrible, terrible sight. His both eyes were out from their sockets, and his mouth and ears were just gouging with blood. So he must have been facing the mine as it blew off. I was right next to him, but he got most of that. And so he's 19 years old, and so I said, that's it, you know. So that was my first experience. It was about 15-20 minutes later from the time we left the captain. So the captain must have heard the sound that was nearby, and so I circled the area to look for any Germans. And as I come back the second time around, when 100 feet, then the 200 feet, and I come back, his body was gone. So the captain must have took him back. And so I just felt, well, I'm by myself. I head out towards the woods and pick out a tree, because the daylight then was about 10 hours, and they had 14 hours of nighttime in December. And so I picked out a tree and just laid back and went to sleep. Well, I said before I go any further, as I left the captain, I'm a soldier of God first, and a soldier of the U.S. Army second. So that really worked for me. And I felt, since I was the one that was alive from the two of us, I'll just see what I could see and pick out a spot and go to sleep. So I slept like a baby after a few prayers. I prayed a lot, and I could almost feel God next to me. So anyway, that was the first day. The second day I woke up, I started to walk down, and I saw a tank, U.S. tank, that had the tracks knocked off. So my tank corps experience and all that, I was looking it over. And here a plane comes from the sky, strafing me. And as he strafed me, I didn't want to kill anybody, but if I wanted to survive, I'd have to do something. So I looked at the plane, and right on the left side of the tank is a 50mm machine gun. I was used to firing that in the States. So, and the good part of it, it was facing the plane firing at me. So all I done is just aimed, fired, hit him with the first burst. And I had to hit him with the first burst because just seconds later the doggone bullets just stopped maybe 20 feet from hit me right in the center. And so anyway, I see this plane, it stopped firing after I hit the pilot, and it kept coming right at me, and as it come close to the tree I was next to the tank, the doggone plane explodes. And the funny part of it is I looked at the side of the plane, I could see the American emblem as an American plane, friendly fire. So that was my second day experience. Anyway, the plane just shattered to 1,000 pieces. It was all small pieces when it blew up. And so that was the second day. And so I just kept going further. I picked out another tree to sit down, lay down, and go to sleep. And the funny part of it, I slept like a baby. I slept so good after my prayers. I felt if God's going to take care of me, I can go through hell. And if He's not, I'm done for. So anyway, that was my second day experience. Third day, I'm walking down deeper into the woods. And as I turn around, after an hour or so, I see 4 of the other fellows that volunteered after I did coming towards me. So we just introduced each other, and I told them separate because there's so many mines in this woods over here. One mine would take all 4 of you. Well, they didn't listen to me. And no sooner I get through talking to them, and I'm walking away from them, so I just 3 German fighter planes come strafing us. And he hit every one of the 4 men, and I could see all 4 of them were hurting their legs, and they kept jumping around. And so I wasn't too far from the American side. So I ran over to the American side, and I yelled for medics, and sure enough, 2 of them show up. There's nothing I could do to these fellas to help them. No morphine or anything to give them. Anyway, these 2 fellas, they come with me, and they took care of the 4 fellas while they giving them shots and everything to ease their pain. I walked around again, we circled 100 feet and then 200 feet, and they're gone after my second round. They were gone, so they must have been able to walk, even though they were, with the 2 fellas helping. So they were gone, so I just, I keep going further towards in the forest. The 4th day, I'm walking down on the ground, walking down the path, and I see a latch on the ground, and I wondering what the hell a latch over here is. Anyway, I walk about 10, 15, 20 feet or so. I better check that out. I turn around and I pick that latch up, and it's attached to a huge door. The door is like from here like that, and it's pretty wide. But it's all grass on top, so you couldn't tell it was a door until you lifted the latch up. I lift the latch up, my God, I looked, and it's a finished basement like. And it's full of food. Actually had a food warehouse for the army, German army. So I went inside, and sure enough, there's one German next to a desk, a pretty good sized desk, and he had the German map of the forest wide open, but he shot himself, committed suicide with a pistol. So he was just laying down like this here on the table. And I turn around, there's the other guy in one of these, I would say living room chairs, and he shot himself. They both committed suicide. I'd say they're both around 25, 30 years old. And naturally they're both dead. And I was getting hungry at the time. I didn't eat for those 4 days. And I was going to go to see the captain, but I said, well, I'll walk a little further and then go back. But then I look around and there's all this food for the army. So all I could do is stuff myself with cookies and candy. And I just filled my pockets up with cookies. And that was my meal from there on out. But it's surprising I didn't have much of an appetite. And I never thought of food at the time. Well, that was my 4th day experience. My 5th day experience, as I'm walking further out, I spotted a foxhole. And sure enough, there's a German fellow in a German uniform, and he's yelling, Ratunku, which means help me, save me. And I says, well, I'm Polish. I says, what are you doing in that uniform? He says, I was given I've got a wife and 3 kids, and these 2 German soldiers come over to the house. And they say, you've got 2 choices. You've got put on a uniform or concentration camp. It wasn't much of a choice. So he put that uniform on. So he could have fired at me and no problem, but he was just that kind of a person. And so I told him, I said, well, you can give yourself up to the Americans just about a mile away, and they'll take care of you. Well, anyway, we shook hands, and he started walking back, and I thought maybe I should go with him, but I felt, well, I'd probably get shot by the time I got back. So I just let him go by himself. So about 20 minutes later, I hear 3 shots. So the Americans killed him. I assume I didn't see it, but in the combat, when you hear shots, there's a reason for it. So anyway, I think the guy just got killed for wearing that uniform. But the 6th day, I'm walking down, and I see an American Army tank. So I'm waving, and they get so excited, they're firing the doggone 75. They fire 75 when they see me. But the barrel was pointing in the other direction. So the second barrel, when they turned the barrel a little towards me, they fired the second shot. They're so excited that they saw me. And then the 3rd shot, 75, come right over my head about 10 feet. So I said, my God, I'm just, And next thing I know, the doggone thing is right next to me. And I'm just wondering, are you going to fire at me? And the guy says, well, we thought you were a German dressed as an American. I said, no, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I took my training over at Fort Knox, Kentucky. I said, I know everything about the tank. And I said, you guys are crazy for firing at 75 at me. I said, you fire those at tanks. I said, whatever you see some tanks and you don't have any of those 75. A pistol won't do you any good. But I'm glad they didn't fire a pistol, because he wouldn't have any problem hitting me. But that was the 5th day. The 6th day, no, that was the 6th day was the tank. The 7th day, I kept walking further out, and I heard the 88s. The sound of the 88. Now, the first time I heard the sound, but it warns you when it's coming towards you. You can hear the doggone thing whistling, and it's a pretty good size 88, you know, and it's around like this here, so it's a big shell. Anyway, it's coming at me. I hit the ground, and it about 2 feet away from me, to my right. I'm just hugging the ground. The next one is coming 2 feet away on the left side. The third one comes in 2 feet over my head. The fourth one in front of my feet, and it covered me up with a lot of dirt. So I had 4 88s come within 2 feet of me. So naturally I prayed. My prayers were heard, I know that. I could almost feel God holding me. So I stayed there for a couple hours, and I said, well, time to start moving. I was getting up, and sure enough, I heard another 88 coming towards me. So, and it lands just about in the same place the first one did. And the next one, to my left, same way, a couple of feet. So I stayed on the ground till it got dark. Then I kept walking further. And let's see. Then I had a German major surrendering to me. He has his hands over his head, and he comes up to me, right? And I figured, well, I better kill this guy. He's gonna get too close to me. But I felt I wasn't gonna kill anybody with their hands up. Anyway, he's over and he's actually hugging me with his, rubbing his nose against mine, and his eyes were right next to me. And I can't fire the doggone thing. I've got the machine gun. And so I'm wondering, what the hell do I do now? And sure enough, I hear a shot. And I hear his eyes open up like this here. So I figured he was hit, but I didn't know where. Anyway, he's standing there, dies, falls back after a couple of minutes, and I turn his body over with my foot, and the helmet falls off, hole in the helmet, and hole right in back of his head. So the bullet must have stopped right between his eyes. If it would have gone through, it would have hit me. But anyway, he was dead. So that was that day. And let's see, the following day.
Was he shot by the Germans?
By the Germans, yes.
Because he was surrendering to America.
Pardon me?
He was surrendering, so they shot him?
I don't know what their plans are, but I looked up at them, and I went like this. I couldn't see them, because they're all trees behind him. And I'm sure they were very close to me. And so I went like this here to them. And when I saw he was dead, I said, oh my God, they got a chance to kill me, see. But he didn't fire at me because he had so much gold on him. He had every ring, all 10 fingers rings with gold on them. I mean a lot of gold on them. And they figured I would start taking them off, you know. And then when he stretched out, he had 2 wristwatches on each wrist. And they were full of gold. I said, boy, this is Fort Knox over here, you know. And but I wasn't there for any souvenirs. So I just kind of walked down below, just crawled out, and so that was my experience that day. And then the following day, I'm walking, and I see this fellow in, I kept walking, and that was the following day. I see this tree, I go, oh boy, that's a big tree. It'll really cover me up pretty good. So I'll lay down and go to sleep. But as I look up, I see this fellow, German, with a machine gun next to him, up on a high branch over there. All he had to do was fire, and I was about 3 miles into the German territory, so if he did fire, he had to get about 10 Germans to come in and check him out. I couldn't fire, because it's suicide for me to fire anybody. But anyway, I didn't know what the devil to do. I just hid behind the tree, side of the tree, and sure enough, he's coming towards me. He starts a fight, a fist fight. And, you know, it was a good thing he was my size. And so we had a good fight. We had we gave each other a pretty good whack. And then we started to wrestle. And we were wrestling for quite a while. But before that, a couple of days before that, as I was walking, I saw a bayonet on the ground. It was a pretty good sized bayonet that you attach to a rifle. So I said, well, I'll pick it up. You know, I don't know how to use it, but I picked it up and put it in my belt. And as we were wrestling, the doggone bayonet fell off, and he picked it up with his left hand. And he was ready, so anyway, when he picked that up, I hit him on the side of the wrist, and he let go, and I grabbed a hold of it. I put it up towards in front of my body, and he jumped. And naturally, that was, I could feel his chest cutting, the blade cutting his chest. I didn't kill him. I didn't want to kill him. But I injured him enough to where he passed out. So as soon as that happened, I just started to walk further ahead. I figured if the Germans are going to save him, they should be coming pretty soon. And so then the following day, I run across, as I was walking, I see 3 Germans coming towards me. And they look like basketball players. They're all 6'7", 6'9", big guys. And so anyway, they come towards me, and I'm walking towards them. As we were getting closer and closer, I said, boy, after a while you got to make a decision what you're going to do. So just about the time I was tempted to fire, I was holding back as long as I could. He made my mind up for me. They threw their weapons down, put their hands over their head, and I just motioned the area to go to surrender. So okay, that took place, and so I just stayed over there in that area. And about 2-3 hours later, 3 more Germans come. And they done the same thing. They kept coming towards me, and until either one of us could have fired. And but anyway, they pulled the same thing after 150 feet or so. They threw their weapons down, and Savannah just waved them over to the area to surrender. And that was it. The following day, I'm walking further out. I see 2 Germans, and and it was a repeat performance of what happened. These two fellows kept coming towards me, and I kept coming towards them. And so I thought I'd just hold back just so long, and I'd have to make a decision what to do. And he made it for me the same way. Threw their weapons down, put their hands over their head. You can believe that. I mean, to this day, it's so hard for me to believe that all this happened to me. But anyway, they surrendered, and I told them which way to go. And as I'm going further, another two show up. So they go through the same act. We both closing in, and they do the same thing. They drop their weapons and surrendered. So, and then I'm walking further. One shows up, and the same thing. After so far a distance, they throw their weapon down. I go further out, another one shows up, and then he does the same thing, and then I'm still walking further out, another one. You know, there was 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them that surrendered that day. There was 6 the day before, 7 that. So I had to put up with that, you know. But like I said, God was with me. I almost felt him next to me. So then I just kept going further out, and I come to where the cliff, which was 100 feet long, was around 10 feet where I was coming to the end of the cliff. And there I climbed a couple of trees, and I see, as I poked my head over the level ground, an American soldier yelling over a phone. He had one of these phones, and he's saying they want fire in that area that he's at because they're trapped. They're in a trap by the Germans. And no sooner he said that, all fire broke loose. You had the machine gun fire, the tank fire, all Germans. And the flamethrower that went right over my head, naturally I was just above the ground, and so I could feel the heat from the flamethrower. And so the area is being wiped out. I could see the Americans running around, and they're being shot, and the flamethrower burning them up and stuff like that. So anyway, I backed up, and I was hit by a mine. That mine hit me, it knocked me out for 24 hours. Because I woke up about the same time that I was hit the next day. And so I'm out of it. I'm really no condition to do anything. In fact, I thought I was dead when I opened my eyes. As I didn't feel any of my body. And I'm looking up, and I'm close to the sun. So as I kept thinking, what's this all about? I must be in heaven. And but after a while, I raised my arm, and which is the only portion of the body I felt. My God, I said, I've got my one arm. Thank God I've got one arm. Surprising. Thank God for one arm. Then for a little while I raised my, thank God I've got 2 arms. Thank you, God. I just couldn't do without my arms. You know. Then I raised my leg up. Oh my God. Thank God I've got 2 arms and a leg. And then after a while, I raised my other leg. My God, I've got all my limbs. Thank God, thank God. I couldn't do anything without. I'm having a hard time doing things with them, and to do something without them, I just would have given up. So anyway, now I'm wondering whether I'm all in one piece. So I'm laying over there, and I starting, oh my God, I do have a body. So I keep moving around and moving around. I said, I wonder whether I'm paralyzed or can I stand up? So I tried to stand up, and it was like picking up a huge pile of bricks or so. I had a hard time getting up. And I, well, I don't know, I'm going to have to rest up a while. As I'm thinking, I can hear the Germans talking above. They're on a 10-foot ground, which was 10 foot and level ground. They're right up on top. That was the day after they were wiping out the Americans. And I can hear them talking like you were right here. Now I don't understand German, but anyway, that was, I could hear them. So I said, well, I've got to walk about 75 feet to the trees in order to get any shelter. So I said, well, I'm going to have to make go of it in the daytime because I don't want to walk in the dark the way I feel. So I said a few prayers and I said, I'll know in the next 5 minutes whether I'll be coming home. So sure enough, I could hear him talking, but he had trees in front of them. So they must have been facing one another because I walked right, stood up, and I walked. I could hardly walk, but I was getting more power knowing that it was usually my last walk. So anyway, I kept walking, and once I got in the woods, I felt safe. But I had 3 miles to go. So I just didn't know whether I'd make it. But anyway, knowing that it was near the end, I kept pushing myself. And as I'm walking, and I see an American soldier in a foxhole. And he says, where are you coming from? I said, about 3 miles in front of you. He says, I'd have killed you if I saw you a minute earlier. I said, you would have shot somebody in this uniform? And he says, well, I had orders to shoot anybody in front of me. So that's the way some people think. You got to tell them step by step when to fire and when not to fire. So that was the third American that was ready to kill me. First it was the plane, then the next was the tank, and then this guy said, my God, I'm not fighting the Germans alone. So anyway, that was my experience of combat. But as I look around, I'm seeing all these soldiers heading south, and they're going from Belgium over to join. I saw General Patton on his tank, and he's 200 feet away from me. He's standing on the tank and he's waving for the tanks to follow him. He's going to the area I just left. So anyway, he said, as I come to the past that soldier, I wanted to see some medics, the Red Cross or so, and I didn't see anybody over there. All the soldiers were marching to join Patton. So I said, well, I'm going to join them, and the first Red Cross I see, I'm going to have them take care of my hands. And sure enough, I joined them, and about a quarter of a mile down, there's a whole huge amount of tents over there, and Red Cross. And so I walk into one tent, and the Lieutenant Colonel is giving instructions to a major. And all these guys are brought from the front lines the day before and just laying over there to be taken care of. So he tells the major, points at the first soldier, take those 2 legs off. Take that arm and leg off here. Take those 2 legs off. And then they're all lined up. And he turns at me and he says, what can I do for you? I said, well, I just went through this explosion. And I'm coming back from 3 miles back. And I need attention on my hands. So he looks at them and he tells the major to give him, clean them off. So the major went and got a bucket of stuff, and he comes back and they get your hands out. So I got my hands out, and he pours this stuff on me, and my hands went to watermelons. They were watermelons. They just exploded. The stuff he poured on my hands. I couldn't believe it. I said, well, you may as well amputate my hands, you know. And he says, no, I want you to take the plane behind you. I looked at that colonel, plane behind me in this forest. It must be crazy. Anyway, sure enough, there it is. God must have put that plane right there. And it was transporting all these wounded soldiers, and the plane was all full, ready to take off. And the colonel just held them back till I was ready to go. So anyway, he told me to board that plane, and so my hands were just watermelons. There weren't any fingers, it just exploded. I'm walking and I couldn't feel any, the pain was so terrible. I could have screamed. I think they would have heard me in Detroit. And so anyway, I went over to the plane, and the nurse was over there with a big bucket of water and that. So I put my hands in there, and she gave me a shot of morphine, and all the pain was gone. I couldn't believe that. All that pain I had is all gone. And I could, you know, but anyway, I got rested up in the seat, and I could see the colonel waving for them to take off. They couldn't put anybody else on the plane. I took the last seat, and so I could see them flying towards England, and it was a short trip, and they landed over in Bristol, England, and they had one of these makeshift hospitals. Anyway, I got off walking around, and everybody's congratulating each other. I said, hey, what's going on? It's Christmas Eve, '44. It's the first day I realized what it was. Christmas Eve of '44. So anyway, let's see. Yeah, it was Christmas Eve '44. Then I passed out. I went into a coma for 5 months. From there, I don't remember anything until May about 5th of 45. I'm on this ship, and I'm facing the Statue of Liberty, which I always wanted to see. I'm in a Red Cross hospital ship, and I'm facing the one object I wanted to visit for the longest time, staring me in the face, the Statue of Liberty. And then I turn around, and the soldiers walking by me, how's everything with you, you know? And he says, oh, I just heard Germany surrendered. So seeing the Statue of Liberty, Germany surrendered, peace, and then he said Roosevelt just passed away, the president. So all these 3 things I learned in a matter of 10 minutes. And so this is the first time I see my hands. And they look like my hands. But it's the first time in that 5 months that it must have been soaking my hands, because they were just watermelons, really. And so that was my combat experience. So what do you make of that?
It's incredible.
You
Well, then you,
crammed a lot into,
Pardon me?
you crammed a lot of experience into it.
In 2 weeks, I don't believe to this day that when I lost my memory when I come back from combat, when I passed out after getting my hands taken care of. I passed out, and I just forgot about everything I experienced in the 2 weeks.
Did he send you to Walter Reed to recover? Which hospital did he send you to?
Well, you know, I had to be treated on my own, really, after that, because I had some sense that I was had to do something. But
well, Dad, when you came back to the States, you were at Percy Jones.
yes, oh yeah.
They brought
well,
you back there.
When I was aboard the ship, passing the Statue of Liberty, I was wondering where they're going to drop me off, and it dropped me off at Boston, Massachusetts. And there I spent half a day or so, and they got me on a plane and they dropped me off at Grand Rapids, and it was at Percy Jones Hospital. It was just a new hospital at Grand Rapids, and I remember walking. Oh, I was supposed to see what sort of medals I was supposed to get, and so I was supposed to report on the second floor. As I'm walking, I see a big bus with Detroit on it. So I said, well, gee whiz, I'm going to check it out. So I went out to the bus and I asked the bus driver, how soon are you going to Detroit? He says, in a matter of minutes. I said, what's it going to cost me to go to Detroit? He said, you're in uniform, nothing. So I said, I can come with you. Yeah, you just hop aboard. So I'm figuring, well, what can I tell them about my service? I don't remember a thing. I don't remember a doggone thing that I went through the past couple of weeks. So I says, it doesn't do me any good to hang around here. So I boarded the bus, and sure enough, the bus takes off, and he's a mile away from my home on Michigan Avenue in Lano. I told him this is where I get off, because I got a mile to go to my house. So okay, he dropped me off, and so I'm coming home, and so as I walking home, well, anyway, I got home, mother answers the doorbell. My God, I started to cry. I think I passed out after that. I went into a coma for a few days. So, anyway, but I was treated over at the Southfield Veterans Hospital on a few things, but I never remembered anything as far as the war. So I just forget about it, you know. I just don't even think about it. But I started getting letters where I've got the Purple Heart, I've got the Presidential Citation, I've got a few of the other medals, and I wonder what the hell I get these doggone medals for. So whether I want to check into it or not, forget it. So about a year and a half later, I went to a barber shop. I get in a haircut, and a woman comes in, and as she was leaving, she says, you know, if I had any medals coming, I'd make sure I got them. And that stayed with me. I said, well, maybe I should see what the hell these medals are for. So I thought I'd see a psychiatrist on Michigan and, not Michigan, but Grand River and Schaefer Road, to Dr. Lawrence, the psychiatrist. This is a year and a half later. And I said, I lost my memory of the war. I just wondered whether you can help me get my mind back on it, just see what all this is about. So he, I'll give you a shock treatment. So he gave me a shock treatment and nothing happened. So he said, well, I'll give you one the next week. So I come, second week I went out there. He really gave me a good shot this time. Boy, everything come back to me. Everything I experienced come back to me like it happened yesterday. I couldn't forget that. I didn't think it was a good thing to do because I had nightmares after that. But I felt that this is what I went through, and it's just an experience. But to live through something like that, to this day I don't believe that anybody would have lived through what I did unless they'd done everything what I did. And like I said, I told myself I was a soldier of God first and a U.S. soldier second. And to this day, it's hard to believe that I went through all that, because I doubt anybody could have experienced that and lived through it. But I felt God all the way. I've got other experience. I don't want to talk about it because it's just between me and God. But it was something that I had to go through, and so, about a year and a half ago, my wife had Alzheimer's. She had it for 9 years and 4 months. And she was able to walk the first 8.5 years. We took 2-mile walks every day. We missed a few days, but it's about every day. And I find out that that was the best thing that we could have done. And she just passed away 3 months ago. And so it's an experience that is so hard to accept, because she was very close to me. We were two people that as close as could be.
You was the main caregiver and kept her at home.
What?
You were the main caregiver. You kept Mom at home.
Oh, well, Mom loved to be at home.
Oh, I know that.
She loved to be at home. She,
at 88 years
all
old.
the walks we took, I know it helped her quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so until that last week where she couldn't swallow, then I knew that it was near the end. But up till then, she was, she wouldn't talk, but she understood what she'd give me the biggest smile you could give her, give to me, after I would say in the morning or in the evening. She was bedridden the last year or so, and I'd talk to her about some of the experiences. I said, when you get well, we're going to do the same thing over and over again. And she let out a big smile. I got a picture of her with a smile, in that book. But anyway, she passed away 3 months ago, and it's awful hard for me to accept that God would take her away, because she was a wonderful, wonderful woman. And she, easy to get along with. I don't think we had a bad argument all the 63.5 years.
Of marriage, yeah.
63.5 years ago. And we just hit it off like just unbelievable.
Do you want to tell us something about your book that you brought?
Yeah, we'll show it to you after. Anyway, Yeah, go ahead, show that.
What,
Yeah.
I have two questions, just to clarify things. What was your mission in the woods? What did they want you to do?
Well, you know, somebody gives you an order, it doesn't explain anything to you. You just go out in the woods and see what you experience.
It was reconnaissance?
Reconnaissance,
So
yeah.
you were supposed to,
Reconnaissance cavalry.
and kind of psych out what was going on and then report back where the Germans were
Yeah,
supposed to be?
There
Okay,
was one day where the Germans just, I got in at 3 trees together. And I got inside the trees, you could hardly see me. When I scooped down, you could see me when I stood up. But when I scooped down, I had good coverage. And I sat there for a good half hour, and then I was gonna walk further out. But as soon as I started to walk out, I could see the Germans in a path, where I was in a path over there, and the trees were, 3 trees were right next to the path. And just before the path, there were woods. And the Germans were going through the woods very close, and they had woods on both sides. So when they were passing that tree I was in, they had to keep watching where they're stepping, their footing. So, and they kept up for an hour. They were changing positions. That was my, I could have reported that at the time, but I felt I'd want to see all I could see before I went back.
Did you ever see the captain again that sent you out on this mission?
No, I never did. The last day when I started coming back, all the soldiers of the 4th Army were crossing that area where he was supposed to be. And so I never did see him. And I needed attention on my hands, so I felt I'd had to go to a Red Cross. And so
but you didn't have a radio or anything. You would have had to go back and find them to report on what was happening?
oh yeah, I'd had a lot to report.
Okay, but you didn't have a radio?
Oh no.
No, okay,
radio,
so you had to go back physically.
No phone or anything,
Yeah.
no.
And what made you volunteer?
You know, I'll tell you my thought. I think God raised my hand. I don't think I raised it. I wasn't that anxious to get in combat, but anyway, when he mentioned that they wanted 6 volunteers, I knew I was going to volunteer, but I wasn't going to be the first one. It took a while before the first fellow, as soon as he said, you know, and raised his hand, I raised mine right away. But I think God helped me raise that. Anyway, I thought, I didn't want to have anybody tell me what war was about. I wanted to know it firsthand. And that was a bad mistake, but I just about went through everything you could possibly go on foot and experience what I did and live through it. It was unbelievable. To this day, I just,
Yeah, really.
it's just a crazy dream, and but I'm here to talk about it.
Do you think that all those Germans that surrendered to you, do you think that they were deserting? That that's what they were doing? They were
I think
looking...
they felt that I was already in the Hurtgen Forest on their side, in the German side of the Hurtgen Forest. And I think they must have thought that it was just a matter of days or weeks that Germany would be conquered. And I think they used common sense. I think they used common sense. It's either die, you know, fighting, or and I think they just used common. I myself, I thought I'd kill myself before I'd surrender.
So they just thought they had a better chance with the Americans than they had with the Germans.
You
Yeah.
what?
They thought that they had a better chance surrendering to the Americans than
Well,
staying with the Germans?
After the 3 surrendered to me, like I said, I didn't kill them, and they didn't fire at me. We both had the chance of, firing at each other. But I thought they must have talked it between the 3 of them, and they just used common sense that they can live, they take their chances with me. And so when they gave up and I didn't fire at them, if I was a soldier of the U.S. Army, I would have fired at them. Soldier of God, I held back. And I held back till I felt when I had to, it happened and that was it. But I didn't want to kill somebody just to kill somebody. But there were guys that would, just like they killed the soldier the 5th day that surrendered to me. And he had the 3 shots and that. There are people that are just, or the last guy in a foxhole said he would have killed me because he had orders to kill anybody in front of him. You think that he'd question me before doing something like that, but there are soldiers and that's it.
So let's see some more of the...
Well, what we have here is we do have a picture of him in uniform, and then when he hurt his hands, we also have, and we have some of the medals. Actually, he received his medals. We went after getting the medals. I pursued that with a local army post. Really, it was a year and a half ago, and last January, a year ago January, he was able to get they had a ceremony at the house, and we have the newspaper took pictures, and
well, why don't you hold some of the pictures and things up so Marilyn can get them on the video.
Alrighty. I don't know how close you need
Can
me.
you
She can zoom
put
in.
him up on, against his chest?
Well, this is my dad when he went in to the service. Let me see that.
Okay.
And then when he got hurt, and he was injured, here's a picture of him when one of the nurses took a picture with his hands,
Okay.
and that was in front of.
That was 5 months. That was just before I went into.
Okay.
So did you have shrapnel in them?
I don't know. They're just bleeding. My hands are just full of blood. I had some big hankies. I just wiped my hands with, and I just kept them in the kept my hands in the hankies.
And then I guess they probably got infected.
Oh, they weren't infected. No.
And then here's where we got the medals. And this was at their home, my mom and dad's home.
Okay.
And so that's really it. I mean, we just.
It was pretty nasty weather in December when you were there. Was there snow on the ground?
Oh, there was snow, but it was cold more than that. But I had, the old coveralls that were pretty warm.
Wow.
So I was able to sleep with no problem.
Good.
But my thought after my prayers and that, I was able to, I just can't believe I could sleep the way I slept, because every day was something strange that would happen that I could live through. But I almost felt God walking with me.
Did you have winter gear? Did they give you overshoes for the snow, and did you have winter gear?
Oh, I had good size heels on them, high level shoes. So I was able to keep warm. I had no trouble with the weather.
And you lived on C rations and K rations while you were in the forest?
No, the only rations I had were the cookies and candy. That's all I lived on for those 2 weeks. But I was surprised that even the first 4 days I didn't eat anything. I wasn't getting hungry till the middle of the 4th day. And then when I picked up that latch on the ground and I tried it out, you know, here it opened the door to food warehouse. I mean, all the food an army could eat. And but all I could put in my pockets were cookies and candy. And I lived on that the next 8 days or so.
Were you discharged from the hospital, or did you go back after you were in the hospital? Did you go back and be discharged, or did they discharge you from the hospital?
You know, it's so confusing. Because I went in a coma after I got home, but I did go to the veterans for checkup and stuff like that. But I didn't remember anything, so to me, I was just going over there because of my passing out. And but otherwise, I felt they were asleep and everything, but I never knew when I'd pass out.
Right. You got your Michigan bonus, veterans bonus.
When was this?
After the war, everybody got a bonus from Michigan. Did you get a bonus?
Boy, I don't recall.
You should check with the VA and ask them about the bonus that the Michigan veterans got.
Boy,
He's never followed up on any of this.
no, I very seldom.
Well, he's got it coming to him, so he should check with the VA and find out about his GI Bill rights. And the GI Bill would pay for the home. A good.
He had you bought your first home on Woodmont in Detroit on the VA with a VA loan, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did use
Okay.
that. So
Because he should get everything that he's got coming to him. He should contact the VA and talk to one of the counselors and see what else he is
entitled
to.
Well, once I got out of the service, I just
Yeah,
wanted to forget everything.
That was the problem with a lot of GIs. They just wanted out, but they had benefits that were coming.
I felt that I was alive.
this is
and
called
that
Michigan what?
That was enough for me.
The Michigan bonus.
Okay, so well,
What did you do as a profession when you were after the war? Where did you work?
Ford Motor Company.
Ford Motor?
Well, I was in Ford Motor Company in '39, and then I went into service in '44 of April, and I think it was about September, October, I think, of '45 I went back to Ford's.
Where did you work on the line?
No, I was a tool and die maker.
Okay.
I had my journeyman card back in '42 December, and so when I opened the door to the tool and die building, they were the press was running. They're trying out some of the parts in the press, and boy, the noise just drove me crazy. In fact, even car phones drove me nuts when I was coming home. Every time I heard car phone, it'd make me jump. And so I was in bad shape. I was, and I never really got discharged the way I, had all the medals and everything. Because I mean, the medals I got one Purple Heart with no medal on it, just the purple ribbon, where I should have got at least 3 Purple Hearts. And the other stuff, I mean, I could have got...
Did you get the medals or just the bar, just the campaign ribbons? Did he?
Well, I got the medals,
Yeah.
overseas medal.
Okay.
yeah.
Good conduct medal.
Oh, yeah. Did you join any veterans organizations when you got out? Did you join any veterans organizations when you got out?
I joined the disabled vets, but you know, I attended a couple of the meetings, and I just didn't like to hear anybody complain. And so I had it with that. I just, I felt that I don't want to hear anything about combat or whatever. But I never knew what I went through till a year and a half later when I had that shock treatment. And then I was sorry I did have it, because then I had nightmares for a couple of months. I just had a hard time sleeping through all that. It was unbelievable that anybody could live through that. But it was an experience that if I had a film made of that, I think the people would want to see it twice. They wouldn't believe what anybody could live through it.
One person, yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I think that's it.
Well, thank you for your service, sir. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I volunteered when I was 16 for the Naval Air Force, but I was turned down because of my age. But I did volunteer. And my dad says, "Oh, listen, they'll get you soon enough. They need you, they'll come and get you." And because he was in the Russian-Japanese War back in 1904 or so. And when his outfit was supposed to fight the Japanese, they had sabers where the Japanese had rifles. So you know what chance he had to survive. But anyway, that was his experience. When his turn, his battalion was supposed to fight the Japanese, the Japanese surrendered. So vote because of Theodore Roosevelt. And that Hurtgen Forest I was in, that was the worst area that the Americans ever experienced in a war. They lost 34,500 soldiers back in World War II, and that was the most they ever lost in any one battle of all the wars combined. To this day.
Wasn't that also included in the Battle of the Bulge, the Hurtgen Forest?
And Hurtgen Forest was near, my brother was in a Battle of the Bulge in a tank corps. He had his tank hit. He lost one of the guys with him, and he wouldn't talk about it. But he survived. Then I had another brother that was in the MPs in Japan. And so family-wise, and my kid brother, he was in the Korean War. So they all had combat experience, and they all survived.
Well, that's a great story.
Pardon me?
That's a great story.
Well, like I said, I myself, to this day, I feel I was walking with God. To this day, I swear He was guiding me in certain areas. And things held back, just like I found that light steps where I found that the food warehouse when I was hungry. So things kept falling in place just the way, unbelievable.
Well, that was a great interview. Thanks for your service. Thank you for...
Well, I felt that if I experienced something that...
Thank you for sharing your experiences. I'm sure that years from now people will look back and realize how much the American boys did for the...
Well, I myself, I feel that these wars are uncalled for.
There, okay.
It was a war that was planned long before it began. World War II was a war that United States, U.S. Steel,
Right.
Dow Chemical gave a lot of equipment
Okay.
to the Germans. And I think a lot of the Europeans helped Germany build up.
Okay.
And there was a war that was planned many years before it began.
Okay.
Which will
And-
include.
It just, to me, it just,
Okay.
you know, we lost what, 55 or 65 million
Okay.
people in World War II. You know, if we had the people living today, what it would be like,
Okay.
unbelievable. It's quite a story when you
Okay.
read it. It's, but
I think this is just story.
I thought you
Okay.
would enjoy it,
Okay.
hearing it from me.
There's pictures
Well,
at
when
the
you get
back.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mom's got her big smile on the last page. Oh, that's it. There it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord.